I call Jake Tracy Josh Tracy.
Josh Tracy.
Or is it Josh Tracy?
No, it's Tracy.
No, I got it the wrong way. Whatever it was, I keep forgetting.
It's Tracy. Yeah.
You call Josh Tracy, Jake Tracy.
Jake Tracy.
Jake Tracy.
No, it's Josh. His name's Jake Tracy, isn't it?
It's
Oh, no,
Josh
fucking-
Tracy.
yeah.
Are you
Josh
recording?
Tracy.
Yeah.
Are we on? Oh, fuck. Footy Friends, round 23 preview. How are you, Mick?
I'll tell you what, Doc has missed Jake Tracy on the
Mate,
weekend.
mate. He's in good form at the moment. He's kicking them well.
He is, but, well, he was.
He was.
Then what happened?
He hurt himself.
What did he hurt?
Was it his hamstring?
He's not sure. He
Bring
doesn't
Kate
even
in
know his
because-
name.
Because Kate's one of the great analysts.
Kate, what happened to him?
I actually don't know.
Yeah, no, neither.
It's,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to be here. Looks like you guys have a lot of fun on this podcast, and
do.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
Oh, it always is. It is, Fred. And do you know Brett Dillity? Do you remember him back in the day?
Yeah, do I remember him?
Former Tiger.
Yes.
Yeah, wore the number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The lids.
Lidsey.
Yeah.
He's in Bali.
Ah,
so
yeah,
he's
right.
over there.
And hand in the air. Now that Brett's gone, Kate, we've had to do, we do 2 shows a week, usually on different days.
Yep,
So chat different clothes and all that.
Yep.
Today,
Back to back.
back to back, so we're in the same clothes for the review and the preview.
So we had Lee Montagna, Joey, on after his Carlton draft. We don't know if you saw that last week.
Didn't he
had-
last about 2 minutes and do a quad?
Literally.
Yeah.
He reckons as well, we've all played footy. We
Yeah.
know injuries. It's funny in the situation, but a muscle tear, a deep muscle tear,
Oh.
it actually really hurts.
Yeah, and if it's his quad, it was his right quad, wasn't
Right
it?
quad.
You can't play through that.
Nah.
You cannot kick a footy with a tear in your quad. There's no way. Like a strain, you can kind of push through and try your best. You cannot kick the ball with a tear in
So
your
would
quad.
you say that Carlton draft got their money's worth out of him?
Look, depends on the turnout. If they got a lot of people down at the club, I think they still would have got enough out of it.
Remarkably, he said that a lot of people went down.
Yeah.
They went up because they're going to Castlemaine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was like Carlton versus Hawthorn yesterday.
Yeah.
Started with a bumper crowd.
Ended with a lot of injuries, namely to Joey.
Yeah, and ended with the
And
crowd leaving at half time.
Literally. But we love Castlemaine. It's not Castle, Castlemaine and what they're doing. But today we are previewing round 23, as we said. And footy is getting so exciting at the moment. I don't know about you, but throughout the middle of the year, it gets a bit of a lull for me. And I feel like the last 2 weeks has just rocketed back up to some exciting games. I know you're all over it. You're doing incredible work with Triple M. At the moment, and congratulations to you. You're just absolutely dominating.
Thank you.
So we had to get you on Footy and Friends because we don't talk a lot about footy.
Yep.
We need some experts on
Well,
the side.
I love footy and I don't have a lot of friends, so I'm perfect for
Are you
it.
full time in the media game now?
Yeah, so actually just last week I stepped away from my job that was sort of a Monday to Friday job at the Yarra Junior Football League.
Yeah.
Just getting too hard to manage. I was doing 4 days there. So, yeah, I am, as of this week, full-time in the media. And then just little opportunities like this, got a message and said, do you want to come down? And it's allowed me to do,
Did you ask
do
what
these
the
things.
invoice
We'll
system
worry
is?
about that later. Yeah,
she
that's
just
all
charges.
good. Yeah.
There's no negotiating. It's just this is the flat rate.
Just let me know your email and I'll send it through.
Literally. My email's down. It's been crazy the last little bit too, which is nuts.
That's
And,
great. Great to hear.
Yarra Junior Footy League 2 doing incredible work there.
It's all right, yeah.
Lyndon Dunn was down there too. We met him. He's a great man. But you were blessed at the Yarra Junior Footy Club to witness a beautiful mural that was up on the wall. Did you ever see that beautiful mural that was up on the wall? That painting of the young man taking the spectacular mark?
Yes, I did. Yes, I have seen this.
Did you know who that was?
Yeah, it's you. We've spoken about it a lot in the office. Yeah.
Mate, there's a photo up there of me
Playing
playing.
claw?
I think they're going to offer it to you. I think they were
They
going
did,
to
but
see.
I don't really want it. To
You
be
should
honest,
get
it's
it.
that big. No,
Nah.
I'm not joking.
It would go beautifully
Would you
in
say
here.
it's like 3x3?
Yeah, it is big. It's
Like,
obscenely big.
I'm
sure. I thought you'd organised it
3x3.
yourself. That's how big it is.
Mate, it is that big. They had it in the wall. They got a new office.
Fred would like it. 3x3.
Fred's obsessed with the number 3. If you're not picking up on that already. But it's that big. They offered it to me. I was like, oh yeah, no worries. I don't want it. But it was a beautiful photo. They took it of me in I reckon it was like under 12s taking a big hanger. And truth to this
that your
story
last
is there's a
hanger?
ball that's been imposed into it. Like the ball wasn't there. Like what actually happened was I went up, fell over,
Yeah.
ball came 6 minutes later,
Yeah.
fell on the ground. But they had to put the ball in. And
Unrealistic
attempt.
attempt.
Yeah, it looks really good. So it's not there anymore. Moving on. That sucks. A shit story. Apologies about that. Hey, before we get into it, this episode of Footy and Friends is brought to you by our friends at BWS. Get your drinks for game day sorted and enjoy the footy with BWS. When you're driving through BWS, what tickles your fancy?
Oh, I do love a beer. I'm a craft beer
Yeah?
person.
So you
Or
like
a red
your
wine.
floral sort of.
Yeah, like an IPA kind of style. I love it.
It's not the same.
They give me headaches.
Nah, I think coming from Queensland, I think there's like light that just is crisp because
Yeah.
it's nice and warm and just crave beer
You
on
into
those
the same
days.
thing,
I'm into the same thing.
Absolutely.
You guys should get a split a bloody six pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 each.
Yeah. Very good. So the footy this weekend is going to be huge. Who you played with? Brisbane and Hawks
And St Kilda.
and St Kilda.
Yep.
Coached at the Dogs.
Yep.
Who do you support? Where do the allegiance lie these days in
Nah.
both
Gun for
Full
hire.
time Brisbane Lions, absolutely. Like grew up in Brisbane. Grew
W
up,
and men's?
yeah, probably both. I think W, I literally have friends that play in every team. So
Be like me. It's hard for me. It's like, I got mates.
Yeah.
I got mates everywhere.
you just sort of support the people that you
Yeah,
love.
it's hard. It's hard.
You sort of will be watching a game and be happy for certain people on the
Yeah.
field and then sort of want that result. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the women's footy, we're all such a tight-knit community. It's you sort of just celebrate everyone's wins and losses.
Same as me.
But yeah, in the men's, definitely big Brisbane Lions,
Brisbane
nothing.
Lions. And how they tracking, do you think?
Yeah, well, the weekend, if they could just kick a bloody goal, they would have won the game quite easily.
Carl Johnson.
But yeah, Giants made them pay, and Darcy Jones in that last quarter was electric.
Do you
Cadman as
reckon
well.
they need to get a goal kicking coach down there if they're having these?
Do you reckon they need Fev down there?
Maybe they should reach out to
They
them.
should get Fev back to Brisbane.
Yeah,
Or
they
maybe
might-
Lloydie.
Well, he might owe them a bit of money, so
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't have to pay him to come back.
Well,
Well,
Lloydie.
you would have been like probably prime time, like
Fev, yeah.
it would have
what
been.
have we done here?
Yeah.
Why did we do
Was
this?
that huge when, like, because I remember
it was just random.
it was random, and but
Yeah.
the hardest thing that for me, because I grew up, we're similar ages, I think. You're 92.
Yep.
I'm 93.
Yep.
It's old.
It is old. And when I
Says
was
you.
coming through as a junior,
No, but 92, you know. I'm actually 87.
you're like
1987.
Lee Matthews or something. We had the best era of like the Brisbane Lions coming through. So like 2001, 2, 3.
Yes.
And I played with Fitzroy, so I was very connected. We wore the jumpers, and I used to love Bradshaw.
Yep.
And when they got rid of him and sent him to Sydney, it cut me up.
Yeah.
It really cut me.
I've just sort of forgotten that ever happened. I'm just like,
Yeah.
nah, he only ever played for the Brisbane Lions.
He
That's
didn't,
it.
he didn't last long enough
Nah.
at the Swans.
Did they
No.
send him?
As
I
a
can't
Fev-
remember.
No,
all
they
this,
got him
but-
Fev and sent Bradshaw
So
away.
Bradshaw and Fev never. I was Brown and Fev. Yeah. I played a game against Fev for the Lions, and I remember it was early days. Fev was it 09? 9 or 10?
Yeah, around that
Yeah,
time.
it was that era
And
when
he
they were really
brought a
declining.
crowd.
Oh mate, there was that one game he kicked those good goals where he like the one hand pick up snap over
Yeah.
the head. I still remember it.
Yeah, he brought a crowd, and pretty quickly, like Brisbane went through the patch then in the mid 2010s where there weren't many people going.
Nah, it was
There weren't-
awful.
yeah,
It was
there weren't
really
many
bad
people
footy.
going to the Gabba.
Yeah.
Didn't think we'd be talking about 09 Lions today, but I'm enjoying it. Last thing on that.
We were coached by Daniel Merritt at the women's sort of the first 2 or 3 years that I was there, and we just used to have talks about this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, how was it like being coached by Michael Voss? What was this like? What was that like?
Yeah.
What was level like? All of this, and he was like, "Oh God, like it was not great.
Would there
That
be
era
trauma?
is
There'd
just
be an
awful."
unbelievable podcast series
Oh,
on like
yeah.
what the handover of Voss coming in,
Yeah.
getting all those players. Like I still think about the players I had there too, like Doherty, Yo,
Yeah.
Patrick Carnesi.
I've heard a lot of these stories of, and I'm vaulted.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Jed Adcock is a coach
yeah.
at North.
Yeah.
And he's actually just called me this, trigged my
Really?
memory of some of the.
Just like how hard it was.
Yeah,
Or-
and he was like probably one of the more experienced players, a captain. He'd lived the early days of that
success.
and them coming out of that. I think they held on for a few years, some finals and whatnot, post the three-peat, but then it kind of hit the skids quickly. So
Well,
it's in
it's
the mix
sort
of
of
that.
where Richmond are now. It's sort of that direction. Like you can't be up for that long, which they were, both teams, sort of 3-peat for the Lions and then 3 premierships for the Tigers. And we're sort of seeing that this year, and it's like, okay, with the draft picks or with the trades, what are they going to do? And that's kind of going to set the tone for where they end up. Do they have what the Lions had sort of through that really dry patch that was just like, not only were they not successful, it was a terrible watch.
You
Well,
mentioned the names.
Yeah.
So,
But you know, Richmond, it's like that with Trent Cotchin being the coach.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like that's what it's
That's
like because
it.
he's playing with the guys
Yeah.
that he like
Then
was
trying to
with.
coach,
Because I
yeah.
had Simon Black on the podcast.
Yep.
A while ago, actually did it up in Brisbane, and we were talking about that period towards the end of his career where like it was almost, like your teammate who is like the the Batman and Robin almost of that like team, and then finishing his career under him was a little bit. It was hard.
a bit
It was a
awkward.
different relationship.
The relationship you build with someone.
yeah. I was saying
The young guys.
the guys they lost.
Billy
like,
Longer.
Billy Longer, he probably didn't go on to have as good a career as the others, like Elliot Yeo,
Doherty, Yeo.
Well, Jack Crisp went up through
the
the
Dane Beams.
Yep.
So they've all played 200 plus games. And one, Carnice, as you said, and
There's a couple others.
Jared Pollock, who was...
He was up there, wasn't he? Yeah.
So they
went to Port.
They missed out on pretty much a whole draft,
But just a little fun fact while we're on this niche topic. Sam Doherty started his career with Voss.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he got 2, 3, 4, maybe 6 years left, but I'm sure he'll end up, it looks like he'll end up finishing his
with the
career
same
with Voss
coach.
too, which is, you never, don't have enemies in football.
Absolutely,
No, exactly.
never burn any bridges in
yeah.
football or media because you never know when you
Too
rock
late.
up
Oh,
who's
way
who's
too late.
where.
Should have told me that earlier.
Well,
Should've
it's a
told me
good time
that.
for me to know.
Young, impressionable Mick, emotional Mick. A couple of.
Have you burned a couple?
Nah, not too much. I'll probably have some reservations when I finish up the Gold Coast, like that I probably could have handled certain situations a little bit better, but no burn.
Yeah.
Not on his side anyway.
Yeah. Well, you have to ask a couple of others, but still some great relationships up at the Gold Coast.
Yes. I don't think I've had too many that have fully burned, but maybe scarred.
You've told the story before. Craig Bradley.
No, we're good. We're good now. No, we're actually really good. I run into him all the time. We actually live near each other and we chat all the time. We're gonna have a hit of golf.
Yeah.
Together.
Will you show up this time?
Yes, I will. Kate, I'll tell you the story off air. It's not that funny. Anyway, this weekend preview, it is round 23, as you said, Friday night. You're a Friday night sort of operator?
I love Friday night. I loved Thursday nights when they were around.
Why are they not here? Are we doing
back.
that next year?
Yeah.
You guys heard?
Pretty much every year. Every round will be Thursday nights.
It is the best night to watch footy.
It just makes the weekend feel like it's a day earlier, to be honest.
Agreed.
Love Friday night footy.
Well, Friday night this week, Essendon versus Sydney. What I do in this show is I come up with some outrageous stats.
Yeah,
and you
good.
can use this.
Yeah.
No, actually, don't steal these and put them on whatever.
You won't want them.
They're great.
Hang on, Essendon Sydney. It'll be like.
Sorry. What else we do on this is we pick a player that reminds us of both teams.
Yeah,
E.g. this
right.
one.
Yeah.
Ted Richards.
Yeah, Ted Richards.
Okay.
Craig Bird. He went
Bird.
as a sup list player to the Bombers, but your stat will be so irrelevant to the game. It'll be something to do with like Paul Kelly in the 90s had 32 possessions against the Bombers in a 4-point win.
Yeah,
when
something
they played
like that.
at
Well, let me
Canberra.
get to it. But Kate, if you've got any niche players for both clubs, you've got to
This is like
identify
Gridley
them.
areas,
It
isn't
is
it?
sort of like that. The refreshingly BWS stat for this game is since 2017, Essendon and Sydney have played in 7 matches, decided under 10 points.
So it's going to be a close one.
That's pretty good. Take that to Clarko.
We don't really need that one this year. I don't need to take that one to Clarko.
Who wins? It's at Marvel as well.
Yeah, I think Sydney win. I think they're building now. I think that massive loss came at the correct time for them, giving them a few rounds to sort of regroup and recalibrate things. But I think on the weekend I did tip the Gold Coast Suns to beat Essendon purely because
That's
when
a quick flex.
yeah, when there's a
did too,
game,
didn't we?
Yeah, I think we
when there's a
did.
game that Essendon need to win, they never win it.
Yes.
Like it's a crunch time.
With all
and
due
then,
respect.
but also when there's a game that the Gold Coast Suns need to win, they don't win it either.
Yeah.
And that game, you just went into it and you're like,
Gold Coast don't need to win.
There's no pressure on them to win away from home now, so they're going to win away from home.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did.
I feel we had the exact same conversation.
Mentality,
It's just-
mentality selection.
It was
Both
crazy.
teams just struggle with pressure.
Do you think though this week it could be literally that, or do you think Swans are backing it up?
I think maybe any other team that like was close to the top that hadn't had the disappointment they'd had 2 weeks ago, Sydney.
Yeah.
I think from now on they're going to be pretty well versed, pretty well prepared for each of their games coming up.
We said this on the Tuesday episode, but I think I know Horse said after that win that's the best win they've had, not because they played well, but because they almost, what happened against Port Adelaide, absolutely smashed out of the water. They come back, didn't really even play that well, but still got the win.
Found a way to win.
So it's almost going to bring so much confidence going into next week.
Absolutely.
In this game, which
I
will be
think the
good.
Swans will be winning, and that'll be if that is the case, fully curtains on the Bombers' season.
So if they win, their season is alive.
Alive, yeah.
Wow.
There's so many sort of reading through the
This year,
the ladder predictor.
It is
and oh my
unbelievable.
God. I think
unbelievable.
the Swans are the only team at the moment locked in for finals. Like 100% will play finals.
So what,
every
not
other
even
team,
Port?
no, every other team
Second on the
could
ladder.
still miss
right.
finals if
Unbelievable.
XYZ happens.
That's
It's
so
crazy.
Okay, so we're all going the Swans in that one. Saturday, bit of a nothing game here that's going to compete, but also you want to finish the year well. Gold Coast versus Melbourne, People First Stadium.
Yeah, I'm going Gold Coast in this one. I did the Melbourne-Port Adelaide game on the weekend and Melbourne just couldn't score. They had the ball in their forward half for a long time in that game and just could not find a way to score. And I think the Suns at home riding the huge adrenaline rush from the weekend, getting that win after the siren, I think they'll be ready to go. They'll be keen to sort of finish off the year with yet another win at Gold Coast and set themselves up nicely going into next year.
They're still mathematically possible.
They are. Both of them.
They need some pummelings. They need to create a couple of pummelings, I think, and then rely on a couple of the other way to get some percentage back. But Gold Coast will win this. I think Melbourne, they're we've said this a bit in the last month, Dyl, but I think they're a bit banged up.
They are banged up.
They are.
You know what's interesting about the Gold Coast? You say that then their next two games, obviously Melbourne at home, then Richmond. So you could pencil them in for 2 wins.
Yeah.
Imagine if Gold Coast made the finals. What the hell?
Well, given their draw the whole year, they should be sitting in a better spot than 12th if they worked out a way to win when they got on a plane. But, yeah.
We were chatting to Lee Montagna, and he said the Suns this year. I said, what would you do end of season with the Suns? Do they go for someone? Obviously, Dusty's retired now. There's all that talk about him going there. Whether they need him or not, that's another question. But he actually reckons they're in quite a good window and was somewhat bullish on them for 2025.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a lot of talk that they'll get Rioli. I think that's almost as good as done.
He was so good on the weekend.
Yeah, so that's going to be a huge get for them. We know how good their midfield is when it's up and firing. We've seen Matt Rowell sort of spend time forward and through the midfield. I think a real genuine running half-back is what they need. They've tried Sexton through there. They've tried Lukosius. They've tried different players that sort of haven't really worked. I think if they can add that to the mix, that will really help. And Ben Long's played a really good year up there as well. So being able to sort of get that forward line firing, I think, will be another thing that they need to look at. But, yeah, I think the addition of Rioli. I don't necessarily think they need a Dusty. I think if he wants to go there, he'll go there. I don't think he will. I think he's done. I think that's it for him. Yeah. I think the addition of Rioli will be a big get for them next year.
Suns will be winning. Suns will be winning, and we spoke about this with Lee that their side is kind of all there. They're all there, and they've just got to look for some individual improvement out of those guys that have been there for a while now. That already have a pretty good rate as an AFL player, but a little bit more to give.
Take it to the next
level.
And
then there's this crop of academy guys they got at the start of last year's draft. Within 2 or 3 years, like Jed Walter.
Yeah,
he's going to be
scary. You look at Melbourne on the other hand, then heading into going into those teams that maybe might not make finals, what they're thinking on in the off season. Melbourne have, they've had a lot of troubles with injuries this year. Obviously losing Petrarca with that serious injury with his spleen.
Yeah,
crazy. Clayton Oliver obviously not at the best form at the moment that we know that he can do. Do they just go away and say, look, boys, go to Bali for a few weeks, just let it simmer, and then get back and just get super fit?
Yeah.
Do they need anyone else? They need a forward. That's the only thing.
Oh, they've needed a forward for ages. I think that premiership sort of masked that need. They managed to win. Fritsch kicked 5 or 6 in the final.
6, yeah.
They needed a forward. They still need a forward, and they've tried that many players through that position that if I was them, I'd be going after Taylor Walker. I reckon sort of Adelaide could be keen to part with him, considering their young brigade that they've got there. They're in a different window as well, so that's who I'd be going after. He's a free agent. I'd be trying to get him across to just straighten them up a little bit in the forward line, give him a really big key target to aim.
What do you think of that, Darcy? You like that? Darcy's a big Melbourne supporter. He's one of the 16,000 that head every week.
And he's going to keep going, even though it dwindles down a little bit every week.
Yeah. They need more like you.
I could see that.
The D's, right? It does show sometimes your best players and experienced players just help you be good.
Yes.
I think a lot of the time, and there is a bit of building of your depth and your squad and all of that. But no Petrarca.
The big dog's firing.
No Petrarca for the year, and Angus Brayshaw.
Yes.
In terms of what he
losing him too
provided to them for a long period. They've had some injuries, I think, across the year. Like Stephen May and Jake Lever have had a bit of an interrupted year, whereas years gone by, when they just play together, it's been impossible to get past them and score. So it just speaks to the fact sometimes when your better players are playing, consistently and well, they play pretty well.
Yeah, and on Brayshaw as well, the two others that they lost in the off-season, I've said this a couple of times, was James Jordan and Jake went to the Bulldogs.
Harms.
So those three are really similar players.
Yeah.
They were happy to part with two, thinking Brayshaw's sort of our man. That's who we're backing in. When they lost him then, you can guarantee almost that their list strategy, they would have kept at least one or two of them knowing if Brayshaw was gone.
Call.
So that's really disrupted how their backline's going to set up.
Sat here and thought that chair's brought a really good call.
Can I just slam dunk? Like, that was an alley-oop, but I'm just going to slam dunk on maybe a good point too. And let me know if you think this is...
Okay, you've gone early with it.
I'm sitting in Melbourne's list management here, and I think the one player they thought would fill that role... And to be honest, I think early in the year was filling that role, but maybe he's just tied off a little bit, was Sparrow.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember at the start of the year, like, I was going, Jesus Christ, this guy's going to, like, take the game by storm. He was playing really, really well. I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought he was dominating.
Yep.
He probably just hasn't had the year with, maybe Oliver going out, in and out, Petrarca injured. I thought Sparrow was going to absolutely dominate. But one player that I don't think gets the credit they deserve is Trent Rivers.
Yeah.
Well, he's a star.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. Yeah, and they're rebuilding on the fly, really, that team. I think people have sort of looked past it, but that's what they're doing at the moment this year. They're trying to rebuild while they're sort of still successful and still got that, because they've pumped a lot of more like games and times through Sparrow, through Rivers this year than they probably would have if things were sort of going a little bit better than they thought. So they've been able to get those guys with some more minutes. They've been able to move them into the midfield and get some minutes through them as well through there. So I think that's sort of helped them. They've pumped a whole lot of games through Caleb Windsor as well in his first year, who's been a jet. So I think that they are trying to gain that momentum to, I guess, prevent the arse from falling out, to be frank.
Like
so
we don't normally use that language on the show.
No, and quick question without notice.
Yeah. Oh no, that's not
this,
our. That's
this
not
tricky. This is tricky because this actually might catch Dyl off. This might catch Dyl off.
Question, we don't have a run sheet for the show. Every question is a question without notice.
Just thinking about this game, and we've spent a lot of time on 12 v 13.
Yeah,
we do this as well.
I can't wait. We focus on the stuff that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait till we get down to... No, there's no real irrelevant game this week. But 12th versus 13th is the most irrelevant game of the weekend.
Yeah, we will put all that time into it. 80-20 rule.
In one name from each side. Yep. Who wins these sides best and fairest for this year? And I'll go first.
Okay.
Well, I think Melbourne, Max Gawn still wins it, even though he missed a chunk of...
I know where you're going with this.
Sam Flanders will win.
Yeah,
I
was going to
say Jared Witts, just because he's...
Yeah.
Like, they just love him in there.
They do. He wins a bit. He'll be in the top handful. He missed a little bit of footy with a rib or something.
Yeah.
I thought you were going the ruckman path with me again.
A vertebrae. No. He broke his back.
Darcy, just on I'm still sort of hovering above myself on my Rivers and Sparrow content. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it actually wasn't too bad.
Sometimes I forget.
Yeah, I was going to say Flanders. Yep. I think Flanders and...
are you talking about... That's The Simpsons, isn't it?
Yeah, Ned. Ned's got to win.
See, I say something fucking awesome and then that happens. It's
that's
just
all right.
like
that's
every...
all right. And then, Max Gawn. Absolutely, Max Gawn.
Sorry.
But Ned might win.
Come back. Never going to come
Just
back.
go to the next game. Quick. The Tommy Sheridan Cup. Choppers.
Oh, yes. I really enjoyed that chat. That was great. GWS Fremantle. This one's 1:45 p.m. at NG Stadium. Yeah, the refreshingly BWS stat for this one is the Giants are 3-0 against Freo at NG Stadium with wins of 92, 12 and 70 points.
Phew. So one team...
These are great stats.
Freo doesn't travel too well to
take that to Longmore.
NG, do they?
Wow. I checked out of that one. And you know what? Don't even repeat it. Is this in Canberra? Is this in Canberra?
No, it's NG.
No, it's NG.
NG, sorry.
Giants. This is actually a big game.
Huge game. 3-6.
Yeah, we better brush over it quickly then.
Freo need to win this. Actually, just listen to this stat. The Giants are 3-0 against Freo at NG Stadium with wins of 92 points, 12 points and 70 points. So they've smacked them at NG Stadium.
Yeah.
Does that change your opinion of the game?
Again, I was just reading. I'm doing
a couple jobs at once. He didn't.
My wife knows I can't multitask.
Okay.
Something about Giants win a lot against Dockers.
They beat the Dockers very well at home.
Oh, well, Giants win that. Next game.
What happens with Freo with that then? Because
they must lose by a lot.
They're sixth, and their last two games are Giants and then Port Adelaide at home.
It's been a fickle year.
If Bulldogs and Hawthorn win, they will jump Freo.
So is it a chance for Freo if they lose the next two?
So Dockers 2 weeks ago before they played Essendon, it was all about, not all about, but like they were a couple of good results either way, that 1 point or 2 point swing to beat Essendon, and win a game they should win at home. They're top 2, and pretty quickly they're starting to talk about
not making.
Yeah, not making
It's
it.
the same as it's crazy.
Well, yeah, if they lose, Carlton, Hawthorn and the Bulldogs win, Freo are out of the 8.
Bulldogs won't be winning. We'll get to that game soon.
We'll get to that game shortly. Who are we tipping?
The Giants.
Yeah, I think the G-men are just starting to rumble. Bill, they've
Be finding a bit of confidence after their last 2 wins.
I want the Giants to win, but I just feel the way this year is going.
Yeah.
I'm nearly going to tip Fremantle in hope that the Giants hear it and it shakes them up a bit heading into their win. Because I just don't know.
Well,
what's
they do
gonna
value your opinion, so it might fire them up.
It's a vintage Dylan Buckley move, right?
Yeah,
He doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
He's like,
I
don't want to tip against.
I tip against them.
No, but you're also thinking, I don't want to disrupt Fremantle and think that I'm anti-Fremantle.
I'm not that big enough to think that actually we're pretty big here. People do. They do like this show. But I don't think Longmuir has been tuning in since Tommy hasn't been back on.
No. Giants will win.
I'm going to go... I'm going Giants as well.
Chat aneurysm.
Kate, you on Giants?
Yes, I'll go the Giants.
All right, Collingwood, Brisbane. This is a huge game. 4:35
What do you make of that? MCG, 4:35, yellow Sharon.
I like it.
How many
it's
will
a big
go?
game.
Collingwood and Brisbane.
Oh, I reckon they'll get a fair few, actually.
Yeah.
Brisbane fans down here are very supportive of their team, the old Fitzroy fans.
Have you got this game? What games are you doing this
Yeah,
weekend?
I've got this game.
Oh.
Ripper. So, should be a good game.
It's a good time slot, isn't it? Because you finish and you'll still get home early enough
Well,
to...
I got to go to the AFL after that and do round so far with Kane. But, yeah.
So talk to us about that. How's that?
How's Kano?
I love Kane.
I love Kane.
He's
I'm a big
great
Kane man. I'm a big
He
Kane
actually is. I was very nervous, actually, the first time I was working with Kane. I hadn't met him and I was just going to do a show with him. And genuinely one of the nicest guys you could come across. And I know some people will have very different opinions of that because of what he said either about them or their team. But he's very well researched. When he goes with something, it's for a reason. Most of the time it's pretty accurate, to be honest. It's just said in a way that none of us would ever dream of saying it because we're happy to sit on the fence.
Besides the Sam Walsh one, I don't think he's missed many. He's been pretty good.
Monday, I was listening to the radio on Monday because he does Monday. And
yes. That was when you said the round so far. Oh, no. Questions Without Notice. That's his segment.
Yeah.
That's why I said we can't use that.
Yeah, but anyway, I think he's been sitting on this one for a while because he's got a bit of a Bulldogs vendetta, doesn't he? He's a bit of a Bulldog. He's a bit of a Luke
There's
Beveridge.
a few people he doesn't really like.
And he was saying, like, Bulldogs, if I look at the ladder, they're actually 7th on percentage. But he said they're equal 9th. Just took percentage out of it. So he just weights his discussion and argument just a little bit.
The phone's ringing, which is fantastic. Hey, Kate, I know you'll know this because you are a Lions fan, but the refreshingly BWS stat for this, and this is why we have these stats here. You don't get these anywhere else. I'm not joking. This is actually take this. No, take this to Fags and take this in the box on the weekend. Brisbane have not won 2 matches at the MCG in a season since 2004. They have won 1 this season.
Yeah, well, there you go.
The time is now.
How is that possible?
Yeah, well, they beat last year. Their win there was against Melbourne.
And then they lost. But did they play any other finals at the
Granny?
Yeah.
The one that we don't talk of.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Is that home and away games or just...
Yeah.
It says here they've not won 2 matches at the MCG
in a season
since 2004.
Hard to believe. Yeah, it's got me impressed.
Well, yeah.
That's true. No, I met the guy on the weekend that makes these at the pub. He said they're verbatim.
He's a drinker.
Yeah, he might have had a couple. IPAs with you two on the weekend.
That's nice.
Yeah, but that's a very interesting stat.
Well, it's typically a ground that they haven't played very well, but to be honest, the stats around that, they don't play there that often either.
Yeah.
So interstate teams don't play at the G super regularly. So there's always this, they do really well there, or they don't do well there at all. So I think that's kind of. Luckily, that narrative has kind of died down a little bit. Last year, that's all that was spoken about when the Lions would play at the G. Can they win at the G? They need to win at the G if they want to win the whole thing. Yep. So I think that'll be a different narrative this year. But even like Port, I know that's the next game. They don't play that well there either. They played Collingwood there earlier in the year, started like a house on fire and then got run down and ended up losing by like 6 or 7 goals. And then last weekend played awful against Melbourne, but just found a way to win. So it is a different sort of ground for interstate teams, but hopefully the Lions can put it all together and get back in the top 4 at the end of the weekend.
I'll be tipping the Lions.
I'm going Lions. As well.
Collingwood, to their credit, I thought Sydney would win easy last weekend, but because Collingwood have a batting without 6 to 8 of they're just filling 6 to 8 spots at the moment with the guys that haven't been within their system or at the level for a while. So, whereas the Lions, if you look at the depth chart, if you go magnet to magnet this game, like the Lions versus the Collingwood will have 6 or 7 that'll get through on talent and their star power against their opposition. But I think the longer it goes, the depth of the Lions will get the matchup. Starcevic, he'll go to Bobby Hill.
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking, who does he go to?
Bobby Hill,
Yeah,
I think.
I would think so. Yeah.
Bobby Hill's hard to match up on.
Or could it be
Would it be is
Elliott
playing?
Elliott's playing, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it'll be Bobby Hill. He's the one that can get you.
Yeah, he got him last year.
Yeah, definitely did.
True, he did.
I'm going Brisbane as well. I don't know if you know this, Kate, but I tipped them to not make the 8 this year. And I was looking like an oracle at one stage. And now I look like the imbecile I am. But I'm really, I'm wrapped for them. And I actually almost want to tip them for the flag now, but it's sort of...
You can't go back.
Can't go back.
Nah.
I think I did.
You did.
Oh,
you did.
We can't remember. Again, it's one of those shows where we have predictions most weeks.
And they change. In fairness, Mick actually tipped the doggies before their form to win the flag. Each week
my
it just
best one.
changes.
Yeah, dogs are kind of, who knows, you can ride the roller coaster with them. But at the same time, in the same episode, I went with Hawthorn to make finals. And this was when they were,
I've been
3
talking about
7 or
Hawthorn
3 and
for
5
3
or 3 and
years.
6.
3 years I've been talking about them.
And we'll get there to them. Who are they playing this week?
Well, I got on the Lions before the win started happening.
Okay, so
I said
saw it happening.
I think one of the shows we did in round 7 or 8 after the loss to GWS Anzac Day that weekend. Yeah, round 7. So round 8.
You said they're going to flick it?
I was like, nah, they'll still finish top 8.
Wow.
And then shortened right up and almost finished top 4 now. So
impressive.
Very good team finishing well.
The showdown is among us as well. That is on Saturday night at Adelaide Oval, obviously. The refreshingly BWS stat is 7 of the last 9 showdowns have been decided by 5+ goals.
I thought you were going to say 5 points or less.
Yeah.
Wow.
They've been
blowouts, haven't they? Yeah.
But they're actually in both good. Like Adelaide coming off beating the Dogs.
Port Adelaide are airborne at the moment. And Adelaide flicked it last week. Until then, Adelaide have been a bit underwhelming across the year from what a lot expect. I think Port get this done by 5+ goals.
You reckon 5+? Would you take the line that under 5 or over 5?
Yeah, I'd go, depending on what the line is for Adelaide, I'd take them with the line. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think you can't really count either of these teams out when they play each other.
Yep.
It's a
like
whole different, they just do things that they don't do for the rest of the year. There's players that put their head over the footy a lot more than they would when it's not a showdown. So
even Mick would have put his head over it in these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
They played derbies. They were fierce.
He's won 3 Glendennings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Quite impressive.
You know
the only other player who's won 3?
Q clashes, no, very underwhelming.
Underwhelming
In the Neefle? Did you ever play a Neefle?
I don't think I ever played a Qful.
Yeah.
A Neefle Q clash.
The old Neefle.
Who would they have been named after, you think?
They would have been named after, Mitch Golby.
Oh, Mitch Golby, yeah. What was the Irish... the Irish guy's name played
Pierce Hanley.
Pierce Hanley. The Pierce Hanley.
Yeah.
He played a lot of footy. He played about 150.
He did.
Oh, well, sorry. I'm going to go Port Adelaide here too, but I do think it'll be under 5 goals.
Yeah.
For this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll go Port, but in a close one.
St Kilda Geelong. Be very careful. I will warn you. This was meant. Mick actually knows Ross Lyon.
Oh yes.
So don't say anything negative about Ross.
I think
and St Kilda.
He's coaching well, isn't he, Kate?
I think he's a phenomenal coach, to be honest. Not even a word of a lie.
No.
I actually think he is.
Yeah.
Some of the things that he's done this year has just... Well, he gave everyone a blueprint for how to beat Sydney.
That is true.
He did. He took away their uncontested possessions, and then sort of since that round, everyone's been like, oh, well, let's do that, and it's worked. So, yeah.
And wait till he gets hold of his BWS stat that you're going to give him.
I will. Well, we'll take this one to him, Mick. The refreshingly BWS stat for this one is Jack Sinclair has had 28+ disposals in his last 7 matches at Marvel. So say, give him the bloody ball, boys. He wants it.
He'd probably average that for his career, so it's kind of an average stat.
Yeah.
That's true. Kate, then riddle me this. Is Ross, do you think, because if I asked Mick, he wouldn't give me a straight answer.
Yeah.
Do you think he is what's the terminology I'm looking for? Do you think he's like overperforming with the list he's got at the moment at the Saints?
I think what he's doing is putting them in a really good position to get where they need to get in the next couple of years. I think really competitive teams sort of sit in the top 4 for their defensive work, and he's really sort of got them to that point where they're a top team defensively. And then as the season's gone on, we've sort of seen the shackles released a little bit with them using the ball a bit better or trying to attack a little bit more. So I think with that, he's been able to sort of, build in a way that I think last year didn't do him any favours because they overperformed so much and everyone was thinking, they made finals last year, they'll make finals again this year, it's going to be the year this year. But I think and he's been realistic about this, he's said that publicly, that he didn't expect them to make finals last year and didn't really expect them to be in that position again this year. So I think they're probably about where they sit at the moment. They're 14th, I think, anywhere sort of that 10th to 14th position they've probably sat in most of the year. So I think that's thereabouts for them, but I think they're definitely on the up with what they'd be sort of trying to implement in the next couple of seasons.
Great analysis.
It is. It's blowing us away, really, from what we're used to.
Okay, you're going to have to... You're just going to have to tone it down a little bit. Usually you're making way too much
Ross
sense.
is good.
Do you know what Dylan say, like...
Ross is good bloke, mate.
Good coaching.
And Saints, maybe they should put Wanganeen Miller at a full forward.
I normally say I just like the way the number 7 looks on his back. That's my... He's easily the best number 7 in the comp, like aesthetically.
Yeah,
he does look the best.
Yeah.
They are an interesting side, though, because they've got... Yeah, and they've done this for a number of years. They're trying to get probably a couple of point of difference players in.
Who do you go for in the off-season? This is what I'm looking forward to, because Stephen Silvani at the helm, he's known as someone that's very... That's my one name for the week. I think I called him Steeman.
That
wasn't that bad.
Steeman Silvani.
Yeah. Seaman Silvani.
Pretty sure his name's Stephen. Stephen Silvani at the helm with the list management. He's obviously he's known to be very aggressive with who he wants to target. Yeah. Quite a tough list manager. I've been asked sort of let go by him before, but very respected. Who do you think? Who do they need? Who could they go for? Because it looks like they might lose battle to Hawthorn,
yeah. Well, we all know who they're not going to go after last week.
Yes.
That was
a bit of a debacle.
Wasn't it? That wasn't handled well at all.
Well, I feel sorry for the club if that wasn't okayed by them and their list manager's gone off and done it off his own. I don't know the actual story.
They're a tricky one because to get the players, like this is where free agency, it's like, I don't have a strong opinion on it either way, but the more you think about it, it's geared to really suit the sides that are top 6, and I think this has happened to the Saints for a while, that if it's a club that's kind of really clearly in that window of going into the finals and play deep into September versus the Saints who you don't know exactly, they could finish in the bottom 4, last year they could make finals, or there's a little bit less predictability around them, that they just don't seem to be able to land the prized.
I think that's probably why they got Ross, to try and become more of a destination club for players that wanted to play under him.
Have a bit of attitude about him.
Or might go to the club to be coached by Ross Lyon because they've heard great things or have been coached by him before. So I think that's sort of why they went after him. But you're right, it's sort of never been this real destination club. There's other clubs in Melbourne, if they want to come to Melbourne or want to stay in Melbourne, that they'd probably put at the top of their priority list over St Kilda. But I think they just need a good sort of ball user through the midfield. I think we've seen what Jack Steele can do. This year he's played more of an in and under game. Sinclair's gone in there. We know their sort of half-backs are elite. Wanganeen Miller, their wingers are also sort of coming through too. They've been able to sort of make things work without Max King this year at times. I think he's the one that needs to take the next step with his footy and work out how to best sort of get the bang for buck that he can, even just follow a little bit of what his brother's doing up in the Gold Coast. But comparing that, you look at the ball that he's getting from his mids from the Gold Coast, bursting out a stoppage and delivering it to him, whereas Max King is sort of getting long, high balls coming in, not to his advantage. So I think that just shows what he could do if he had a midfielder or a couple of midfielders in there that could give him some really good use of the footy.
This is where Dyl would say, maybe put him back.
I don't think you waste. You can't put him back. I think that
There's an
No, I
exception
know
to the
you're
rule.
joking as well, but I just think with those guys, especially when you're struggling maybe for confidence, the worst thing you do is move them out of position and play them on a wing or something. Like that.
The
Everyone
wing
just
was
goes,
on.
"Oh, fuck
God.
me, that's not good for anyone." But I think with the Saints as well, it's a really interesting position. Sorry about it. What you made before about that destination club, because I'm not biased just because Mick's at North, but they're going to finish lower on the ladder this year. But if I'm a player out of contract and I see more upside in both teams, like I'd nearly be picking North over going to like a 17th or 18th place North over 14th place St Kilda.
Yep.
So it's hard. You've got to play well in the last 4 weeks to attract those players.
Absolutely.
So it's really important to do that, because otherwise you're going to get the guys that aren't really getting a game at other clubs, or their fourth midfielder that get double their paycheck and go to a team, or not like the really good players.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And that's what they've been for so long.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why they're sort of still in the position they're in.
So
Interesting.
5 minutes about speaking about St Kilda. Geelong will win.
Oh, easily.
We're talking about 14th place, thank you. What are we
But
doing
hey,
here?
at this time of the season, sort of these last few rounds, this is the only airtime these clubs are going to get.
Yeah, exactly. And
'Cause
that's
we're-
why we do it.
Yeah, you guys have done this tactically.
yeah.
Remember, we went through the run sheet. That was what the aim was.
No, we've
Remember?
actually the run sheet.
This time of the year, Saints could win the flag.
Yeah.
Who
We've
knows?
Yeah.
we have organised a whole show when Dill's in Bali.
I'm in Bali.
Yeah,
Gone
nice.
to Bali for a
Buckley
little
and
break.
Bali.
Yeah.
He's put us off to pasture with a show on a run sheet just to dissect the bottom 10 sides for the year. What worked, what
I'll
This
let
one-
you guys do this
No,
one.
listen-
I'll be back for finals.
This time of year, all I care about is trade period.
Yeah,
like
fair.
I'm that excited for
Yeah.
it. It's a joke.
Well, it can
so
make or break clubs, can't it?
It really can. I'm starting firing back up my big footy account and starting to sort of go through there to
Big
see what's
footy.
happening. Okay, so in saying that, we haven't spoken one word about Geelong, but they win the
No,
game.
I think
They do.
Yeah,
Yes,
they win.
they do.
That's going to be obvious.
Can finish top 2 still, so
Yep, that's crazy, isn't it? That Geelong are top 2. Amazing. And then Sunday we have the Western Boruses versus North Melbourne at Marvel, 1:10 p.m. The refreshingly BWS stat for this one is Cody Waitman has kicked bags of 4, 5, 6 and 3 in his last 4 matches against North. So there you go. Take this to Clarko. How about you man him up?
yeah.
How about you try play a player on him this
What did
week?
he kick last time?
He kicked 4, 5, 6 and 3.
So 3 last time.
Yep.
So we're trending. I think we got Jackson
Well,
Archer to him last time.
it was 6 before that.
Yeah, we got Jackson to him last time. It was only
Yeah.
like this
Not
game.
Glenn, was it?
No, it was Jackson.
Jackson
we only
Archer,
played the
sorry.
Dogs. When did we play the Dogs last? Like round 16, so not that long ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Who was on him last time?
I just
Might
said
have
3
been-
times. Jackson Archer.
No, like the 6.
Oh, not sure.
Must have been Kane Turner or something. Yeah. Not funny. Big game for you guys. You probably didn't want them off the loss against Adelaide because they'll be a bit fired up.
Well, we're a little bit the same. You know, it's been an edgy week for us in terms of letting one slip that clearly we had.
Bring the mouth guards tight.
I'm not sure that was the message.
I'll pat him on the back and say, good on you boys next week.
Good
Yeah,
try.
heads up, we're
Good-
17th,
Good try,
you know.
type of stuff. Okay.
Keep trying.
Yeah. 2 sides need to respond from underwhelming performances last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
But the Kangas will win by 6.
Look, Dogs should win just with where they're at the moment and their list profile, as we're talking about. One week they're going to win the flag like 2016, the next they lose to Adelaide. Like it's, we know that it's been a bit of a strange year. They should get this one done, and they love Marvel too. So
Yeah,
I'm going to go Doggies.
Yeah, I think the Dogs get it done. I'm really excited though for the midfield battle. I think some true sort of genuine superstars in both teams, and we've seen what the North Mids have been able to do this season against teams that are either sort of not as strong as them or match them in there. So I'm really excited to see sort of the centre bounce setups and the midfield matchups around there.
Tristan Cherry.
Oh, has to be all Australian ruck, does he not? He has to.
We were talking
I'm a
about
bit biased, but
mixed bias.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I am too, because he has to be.
30 disposals on the
whoa.
weekend.
I know.
He did accidentally swing into the corridor late in the
left.
game on his left.
No, that was early in the game.
Early in the game, sorry.
It was fresh.
He's getting a bit caught up with that sort of stuff, but I think we come back within our limits, and he's an All-Australian. I love the helmet too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the midfield stuff, like our midfield's been really strong since the bye. Have really pulled up their socks, got to work in the back half of the year. The last time we played the Dogs, though, was probably our most underwhelming performance on the inside. So something we'll look to tidy
The group
up.
as a midfield will be looking to sort of tighten that up.
Get to
because
work.
they'd
I
be a
think
bit-
last time, here's a refreshingly BWS stat for you. -12 clearance last time minus 10 clearance, and in particular scores. They scored pretty heavily off their clearance work versus ours. So let's get after them.
As I mentioned a couple of times, I love a good sort of draft story and a project player that's come through. I was just looking at where Cherry was picked up. Do you know where this is?
Yeah. Western Jets, Caroline Springs, played a couple of games for Werribee.
Yeah, but what pick he was in the draft? Where do you think, Kate?
Is he like 30s, 40s?
No, it was deep.
72.
72.
And that's where Ruckman should get picked up.
Oh, I agree completely, but it's
I
just,
say that tongue in cheek.
yeah.
What
It's
I would
pretty
say,
impressive.
I spoke to him, and this is Ruckman, right? How old is he?
He is 1999. So what's that?
25?
Yep.
Yeah. So, there shouldn't be much expectation on Ruckman until they get to kind of 23, 24, 25, what he's coming into now. He spoke about he played a couple of games for Werribee as an 18-year-old, as a Ruckman, and played against Nick Meese at Williamstown.
rap.
And Nick Meese, Kate, is kind of a well-credentialed former state league player that undersized in terms of if he was going to
190?
AFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Yeah.
Would beat up on
suffrage.
AFL
You could
Ruckman
not
every
move
week.
him.
Good
Yeah,
move, would
right.
grunt, which
Yeah.
Tommy Dribble had some trouble with him back in the
yeah,
Werribee Willie days. But I think Tristan said to us the other week, he's like, talked us through these games he played, and Meesey had like 80 hitouts.
Yeah, so one day out it might have even been against Tristan, he had 80 hitouts and 25 tackles. Because he'd do something called the tap and wrap, where he just tap down and just tackle. Like he just tap to their player and then tackle them just to get his get his stats
Right,
up.
I'm going to get in the game.
Yeah, really get in the game. And he's a fridge. Like I actually, funnily enough, he messaged me last week. He's a north sider, and we want to go. I'm trying to get back into my surfing. Haven't been yet, but they have a north. Adam Markon, I think, goes to this as well.
Just surfing.
Yeah, out at what's it
Urban
called?
Surf.
Urban Surf.
So
Yeah, I
a
go
few-
there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Love Urban Surf.
There's a few of the boys go out there, and I've been wanting to go out with Meesey and Markon, Kane Lambert, I think, goes
They
out
go
there too.
surfing.
So yeah, a few of the old boys. We all play together at Northern Blues.
Yeah, nice.
They just couldn't get their communication right with the tap and wrap. He was always saying tap and wrap, and then his mids would think, that means tap, and I wrap.
And I
on
wrap
it.
around,
But he's
yeah.
just tapping
No.
the elbow and wrapping
Wrap
them
them
up.
up.
Good on Tristan Cherry, though. Good
Just
on him.
secondary
That's
stoppages.
fantastic. He'll
But it
be-
does show like that was him at 18, and it just takes a while playing against big brutes to wrap your head around the craft.
Todd Viney might have to, look at the contract this year and have to add a couple of zeros to that.
Well, I think we re-signed
yeah.
him at the start of the year for a bit.
Oh,
Okay.
he's made an
A
error
few
there.
years, I'm not sure the
He
dollars.
should have given it a year.
Yeah.
One more year. You never know.
I shouldn't say that. That's a bit condescending.
Yeah.
It's like go to him and at the start of the year, behind the scenes list managers throw an All-Australian clause in there.
Yeah, I know.
As they chuckle to themselves.
Yeah, we'll give you $2 million if you make
Yeah,
All Australian,
yeah.
mate. Club's fleeced. Okay, so we're going the doggies there. Sorry, Mick. Big game, not really, but it's
Big
a
game
good
for
game.
Hawthorn.
I saw Hawthorn said big game, then I saw it was against Richmond.
Tigers, our friend Brett used to say that. Did Brett say the Tigers used to always get Hawks?
Yes, they did.
Even when the Tigers.
Izzy was saying that.
We're not much. Yeah.
Did you sense we had Izzy and Brett in last week, and I'll tell you, there was a bit of tension in the room.
Bit
'cause
icy.
They very similar players.
Yeah.
Confidence bordering
High.
on too much on both. Would you say? If you've worked with Izzy,
I work with Izzy a lot. Yes.
you can sense it's a beautiful, positive confidence aura. But when you have 1-4 flags, it is a lot, and it's fantastic, and you back it up. Whereas those two going against each other, Brett with the unfortunately no flags, him with the 4, and they were going, and I was like, Brett, just be careful because it's going to get dangerous here.
He knows his areas as well.
he really knows
Yeah.
his areas. And they were sitting right there. It was scary. Anyway, 3:20 at MCG. The refreshingly BWS stat: if Hawthorn and Richmond fail to get 44,186 people through the gates this weekend, they will set the record for the largest attendance drop between two teams to play in the same year at the same venue after recording 92,311.
That's
In
amazing.
Dustin Martin's 300.
Yeah. Amazing what goes into this.
Yeah, wow.
He's got like algorithms or does he just go.
Take that to Sam Mitchell and Uze. That might change a few things.
Time to fire up the emails to the
Well, what
to
if
the
they
members.
got Dusty to play a game? That's
Dusty lap of honour, even though it's a Hawthorn. There's an idea for the Hawks.
Hawk, get this one done.
Yeah.
you'd
yeah,
think.
Hawthorn.
Yeah, they're flying. They're special. And Richmond are paddling towards the back end. Like they're looking for the finish line.
Yeah, they're
I think
really.
as much as any.
Yeah.
We haven't spoken about this, but it was very interesting before. So Joey, obviously you work with Joey as well. Do you do a show with Joey as well? Or just
Not a
through
show,
Triple
but I
M?
work with him
Yeah.
at Triple M.
In
Yep.
the corridors, in the lifts,
Yep.
etc.
Take this one to him.
Take this one. Well, don't actually. But it was interesting. He was talking about what he does throughout his week, and he's doing a bit of work for Fremantle
Yes, he does. Yeah.
in his
yeah.
the list management
Yeah,
draft
list management.
space.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're talking about, what does Fremantle need, and then started saying, and there's a couple. Then later on, we're talking about Richmond, saying there's a couple of players at Richmond that are out of contract, and I was like, yeah, there is, Joey.
Is that what he said?
Baker,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bolton.
Oh, and he didn't go into it?
No, he didn't go into it, but you could
Bolton's-
just sort of
yeah.
see him going.
I didn't know.
Because
Yeah.
you know of the, you know what's
There's
going
a
on.
little slight conflict.
Slight conflict, but he didn't. No, not really.
No,
but
there's no conflict.
but
But
just
if
in
he
the-
was
in-
to really kind
he
of go
didn't.
into
I
the
didn't. I
depths.
didn't
Put him on
put him on the spot.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see what will.
Well,
will happen
Bolton
in
will
that
be a
space.
difficult one because he's still got 4 years on his contract.
Yeah.
So I
the
don't know if
price
they'll
is
get that
right-
one.
What would you do,
I don't know if
Kate?
they'll get that one done.
What would you do if you were Richmond there?
If I was Richmond, depending on what they're going to offer for him, if it's something that I'd be happy to take, I'd accept it.
Like
If
2
it's
first-round
unders,
draft picks? That's
Yeah, well,
cool.
I don't know if they're going to get 2 first-rounders for him, that's all.
But
and I
just
think
say
that's
they-
what they want for
Yeah,
him.
right.
If they got that, I think they'd part ways with him and
But if
happily
Baker
accept it.
and Bolton go,
Yeah.
what, like theoretically, would you take 2 first rounders and a second rounder? Like, what would
Yeah.
I'd do it
You'd have to
because
do it
they're
over a
going to
couple of
leave.
years,
They're going to
wouldn't
leave.
Yeah. I think Baker will be unders because he's not got 4 years to go on his contract. I think that's the thing that'll be hard for Bolton to get there because of what they'll have to pay
Baker
with
out
the
of contract.
contract. I think so.
Yeah. We probably should know that.
I think
We
he's
should know that.
restricted free agent. I think.
I
I don't know though.
Would, not a gambling man, but I would really look at Fremantle for the flag next year if they can land those two
Oh
guys.
yeah. If I
That-
was Fremantle, I'd give what they wanted for it.
Same,
because
because
I
you're
think
in your
those
window
two.
then.
Oh, those two can change where they're at.
Jackson, you look at like Hayden
Young. Yeah.
who's Sarong,
Just
Brayshaw,
leave him on an island. When he's searching for the
Nah,
name, you just leave him out there.
It's
you so
Footy and
much.
Friends.
Who else?
Josh Treacy.
Clearly,
Still
Jake.
don't know his name.
Clearly, Jake.
Great
Jake.
name, great player.
Jake Treacy.
I think that they are they've got an incredible list. If they can bring those 2 players through the door as well,
yeah.
it's going to be scary.
That's why I just sort of give them what they want, take them, put it all in, try and chase the premiership for the next year or 2. And
Would you?
Yeah.
Here's a hypothetical for
Here we
you.
go.
I
You know
love
how all the
Woodies.
talks about around the 2 rucks? There's been all the talk about.
Yeah, give him Darcy.
Yeah, would you give him Darcy for? I think Baker's more likely to go to West Coast, isn't he? Is that,
Yeah.
Or-
Oh,
No,
doesn't-
Graham's
Nah.
going to West Coast.
Yeah.
For
Baker
Graham,
and Bolton.
Yeah.
for Darcy and a couple first rounders.
Oh, gee, was that a good one?
Yeah,
Do the little
do a poll.
the poll.
You know what I'm like with Ruckman. I'll give him away for free. Except for Tristan Cherry.
See, I think they need them both because
Yeah.
Luke Jackson actually plays better and kicks more goals when
We
Sean
can go
Darcy
forward.
plays.
Yeah.
So I think they should keep both of them.
Yeah.
And also Darcy's shown this year that he's not super durable. So he
But
can
could.
kind of get his games there.
And I like
Kane
Darcy's
Kane
shown-
called him, I think, like a 37-year-old or something.
Yeah.
But I was
But
like,
the
okay.
ruck position, like we've seen with Big X at North, and
Yeah.
rucks seem to be able to. Once these guys are given the first opportunity, is there just another ruckman that you can get for a little bit cheaper?
Yeah.
That
For
might
sure.
already be on their list that comes in and Jackson can still do his thing.
Yeah.
They were
There
talking
probably
about
is.
this.
Oh.
They were talking about this
They
this
did sign
morning
for
on
7
radio.
years,
I'm
though.
trying to work out who it was. I was saying that, you got to sign up that second ruck and just. Unfortunately, they're going to be on good money, but you got to say to them, look, we're going to pay you a lot, mate. But you're going to play in the VFL.
Well, it's like Tom Campbell at the Saints. He's still on an AFL list?
Unbelievable
Because
guy as
he's
well. Ripper.
because he's the second ruck and they need him if something happens, but they don't if nothing happens.
Yeah.
And you just you're a glorified ruckman in the VFL that's
He's
on an
trying
AFL
to get
list.
out the door and they keep
Yeah.
really
yeah, like
bad.
please just stay.
Mate, I really want to
He's like,
transition
"I'm
into
sick
my
of
next
it."
phase of my life.
I've played 0 games this year. Here's
Yeah.
my exit meeting. I've already packed the locker.
Yeah. Nah,
Get a
we're going to
W
offer
pay.
you another 2 years.
He's a beautiful man. I think that's why they love him having there. In saying that, obviously Hawthorn for me, Hawthorn for you
Hawthorn,
too, I'm
yes.
sure is there.
Yep.
Last game of the round is the West Coast Eagles versus the Blues. Off the top of my head, I know we haven't played this game since the first one, but you just go straight to Chris Judd, don't you?
Yeah.
Josh Kennedy,
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
Judd.
There's a lot of good players that have sort of crossed over between these two teams.
Who else there is? Who else is there? West Coast Carlton.
West Coast Carlton.
There is a lot. I was trying to think. There's one more.
I like the real obscure random
Yeah.
ones,
Yeah.
which I'll just need some time.
Yeah. We'll come back next week.
We will. I'll just need some time, but I think West Coast win.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But they got like,
There's they can't.
With the
Having played
injury
them on the
concerns
will
that Carlton have.
set Lygon Street alight.
Nah, I think West Coast win.
They're
I dead set think they win.
Having played them on the weekend,
Well,
and yeah, it's still a bit raw, but they're
you mean a few days ago?
the
Yeah,
weekend.
on the
I played
weekend.
them on the
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
A few like a while ago. Yeah, so I'm over it, obviously.
You're over it, Nick.
I am now over it.
But like, Alan Waterman, and like Darling's not Darling what Darling used to be, but with Ryan, that's a good forward line.
It is a good forward
Yeah,
line.
that's a good. Reed goes down and plays a fair bit down there when he's not in the mid. The midfielders against North, our mid's got a hold of them. Clearance, in particular the first half, they did some really good stuff and some different stuff in the second half. But their midfielders were largely down. So I reckon like there was so much upside in what Kelly can produce on what he did last week. Yo had a really good last quarter. But if they just get more of what we're used to out of those guys in the middle, Reed again was down, didn't have a big impact on the game. Well, they're at their best. The West Coast Eagles can be beat most. No, I shouldn't say
They're 18th,
they
which is
can
just
win this-
like
they can win this game.
All of those players that you've mentioned also play far better at home than they
Yeah.
do away.
Yeah.
So, and like, wouldn't be saying that I think the Eagles could win if Carlton didn't have the injury concerns
6 injuries
coming
now.
into
Harry
this
Mackay
game.
today as well. They reckon
off
too.
the quad scan. So, don't know the outcome of that just yet. But yeah, they're really low on troops, but mainly in the back line. So anyone that basically doesn't get Wiedering, the forward that doesn't get Wiedering, or a couple of key forwards that don't get Wiedering, get off the chain. They can't stop them. McGovern's not a key defender, or he struggles to play that key defender role. So I would say that Wiedering goes to Allen. So I don't really see them stopping Waterman, or even Darling getting a couple against them. So I think they're going to struggle to defend the West Coast Tools.
Wow. I know what you're saying, but I know Patrick Cripps takes these games
Personally.
against West Coast, like being a WA boy growing up supporting West Coast. I just feel like I don't know what the BWS refreshingly stat is for it, but I just feel like he goes to the next level, one, when they need it, and two, when it's against West Coast. And I just feel like he's going to literally strap the team on his back and
Like
go,
he always
let's go.
does.
Yeah, but I'm talking
40 and 3. Yeah.
Something ridiculous. I feel like he's just going to do it this week. The refreshingly better step for this one is Carlton have won their past 3 matches against West Coast by an average of 81 points as well. So they do have the form. Take that to Vossi. Yeah. They do have the form, but again, 6 players out is not great, and they did get smashed. But I do feel like Carlton will win this game, and they need to.
An interesting game to finish.
Let's have a look. Versus Oppo. So Paddy Cripps, last 10 against West Coast, averages 24 and a half.
In a half or and a half?
24 and a half.
Okay,
and
that's-
just
my stats
under,
fucked then.
and only half a goal. So, I don't
I'm
know.
talking absolute porky pies.
Maybe. No, maybe there's like a recent, last game he did play them, he had 33 and 1.
Okay.
So that was in round 7. So maybe that's what your mind's going to.
Maybe it was one game once.
Yeah, well, it was
but
that game, I reckon.
I can sense it this week.
Yeah.
I can sense it this week.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Very, very exciting for that. It's going to be great to see how it goes this weekend, and very, very good. Hey, T-minus 1 week out for AFLW season.
Yes.
I saw the Pies v Cats were playing a little scratchy at AIA Vitality.
Yes. Yep.
On the weekend.
Yep.
That's right. Rolls off the tongue. It's nearly as hard as GMHBA sometimes. Who do you see doing good things this year? Who's in your sights? Who's going to play well?
Yeah, well, I think most teams or most media outlets like to write off the Lions very early for some reason. And they won again last year, so I don't see... And they had really very minimal list changes, so they've had another big preseason together, so I don't see why they wouldn't be finishing near the top.
Dyl has them missing the finals.
Yep.
No, that was the men's team. Why? Can I ask why? In a state that's traditionally, and I know players have moved up from Victorian states, but why are the Brisbane Lions so strong in the W? Like what is?
First thing is their strength and conditioning coach up there, Matt Green, is elite.
Yeah.
He is honestly one of the best in the business. He gets the girls that fit, but also looks after them as well. So he just has, from day one, he had his formulas in place. He knew he was trying to work out, and he was flying blind essentially in the first season of AFLW. How do you find out what the metrics are? And then
it'd be a different pre-season, Drew. Like an 8-week. It's more of like power.
It is. It's so different. And now they've actually had access to the girls for the whole year.
Yeah.
So typically they've had access to us. Well, the girls have retired now, so I can't say us anymore.
I still do.
They've had access to the girls in the whole off season, but the girls aren't paid, so they technically it's this sort of fine line. Okay, here's your programs, but it's up to you if you want to do it or not, or whatever.
Year round.
So they're on year round contracts now. So many clubs have done sort of weekly sessions, fortnightly sessions, sort of January to March, and then started to ramp things up from there. But Matt Green is an absolute genius in his field. The other thing I just find up there, the preseason is so taxing, and this is probably also because we were doing it through summer when I was up there. It was cooked. It was awful. And then we'd come down here and play, and you'd feel like you were just
killing it.
So fit.
Well, it's heat training.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
They went back like years ago where everyone was loving heat training, then they went to like the cold altitude. Now everyone's back into heat.
Yeah. And the humidity up there helps too. But also they've been able to keep the group, the core group of that team together for a long time. And the young players that they have coming through are elite players too. They're usually academy players, so they've had them for a certain amount of time. They like to use homegrown talent, which is huge and sort of offers so much to their programs up there as well. They've got a very good youth academy that they pour a lot of time into and really nurture the players through that and then get first use of them. So that helps. And Craig Starcevich is a very, very good coach.
Brandon's dad, right?
Yeah. No, uncle.
Yeah. Uncle.
Yeah. So cares about the girls, but also sort of forms that relationship, so he's happy enough to have difficult conversations with them when things aren't going right. And I think as a club, they've built that culture. And we saw last year, like, two of the girls that sort of didn't do what they were expected to do from a standards perspective got stood down for a week. Not many other AFLW clubs, and I'm saying that hand on heart, knowing what's gone on behind closed doors at a lot of them, not many of them have the courage to do that yet at an AFLW program.
Because they're just trying to play their best team every week.
And it's sort of that, the best team every week because you've got 10 rounds. So if you lose one that you're supposed to win, you kind of put yourself in a pretty dangerous position. But there's also this real, we're a bit nervous to critique the AFLW girls still. We're a bit nervous to say they did the wrong thing. We're a bit nervous to have a crack at someone, Taylor Harris, for going to the Olympics. We're a bit nervous about what to do with it. And Brisbane have been in that space and they've been happy to go, no, you're not meeting our standards, so we're going to get rid of you, we're going to move you on, we're going to trade you out, or you're actually not going to play this week because you did this on the weekend and that's not what we value.
From hearing a lot of the AFLW's players talk as well, it's like they want to be critiqued the same. Not on, if there isn't due diligence into the actual game, but it's like, no, we want to be critiqued.
Yeah.
We want to make this a full-time thing and we want the standards to be there. But no, it's different to what the men's game is.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Play accordingly.
Yep. And the other thing that's also really awkward is how defensive AFLW fans get when you critique them. So the girls want it. Yeah. They're happy to say, we want to be told, this player's not performing, this player's not going hard enough. But as soon as you sort of do, the fans get their back up. They start to think, well, they're not full-time. Why should they not do this and that? And it's like, well, we expect these things from the men's players. And as athletes, we wanted to be treated the same. So as athletes, we can't pick and choose when we want to be treated the same. We either want, we want to be full-time, we want to be taken seriously. Oh, but you're not allowed to sort of say we didn't do the right thing there. Nah, it's fair game. From now on, it's fair game. And I think it should be. And I think that's something that I'll try to sort of really bring into my coverage, not having a crack at people, but hey, like, this player's probably not up to standard this game. Let's see what they can come out and do next game or things like that. So I think it's time we kind of broke that ground in the AFLW because it's what we need to make the game better as well.
It's really cool. What are you doing this year? Like, are you staying with Fox on that?
7. Yeah, 7. So I'm 7.
Yeah.
Doing, I think I've got like 18 games. So yeah, heap of games. So mainly Friday, Sunday, and then obviously a heap of midweek games with the way that the fixtures worked. So yeah, I'm really excited to do that and trying to sort of in the works get a little bit sort of behind the scenes done so we can get a little bit more of that analysis happening.
It is still a little bit of a lopsided comp, isn't it? Trying to bring those sides that are down the bottom into the more competitive space. Who is a side that is down in the bottom part, or has been.
Yep.
You see, I think Sydney did that last year. They went from winless to a prelim.
Yes.
I reckon.
Well,
within a year.
Semi.
Yeah,
Semi or prelim. Yeah. That's a good question. I think probably let's have a look at where they all landed last year.
Just on Sydney, while you're looking at that,
Yeah.
as again, I think I've said this 14 times on this show, but I do love the off-season and getting players in. And when Sydney went for Chloe Malloy from the Pies, I was like, here we go. This is what... This is getting really exciting now.
Yeah.
Like teams are going, you know what? Yeah, let's spread this around. Let's target some people that you think are untouchable.
Yes.
But they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Richmond ended 10th. I think they've had a pretty strong pre-season. It'll depend. They've had their sort of woes with injuries to their big players at previous times. I think Hawthorn, they came 14th. They've got a new coach down there. They're going to be very competitive. They've added a little bit of talent from through their midfield as well that they've got from Melbourne, a couple of players that have moved across. I think they'll be really strong, so I'd be looking for them to sort of make up a fair bit of ground, and they're one of the newest teams in the comp. I think North are probably, them and the Lions are my favourites in the sense that whole like you need to lose one to win one. So I think they'll be very, very determined and very focused. They've been towards the top for a while now. Made their grand final last year and then had that devastation. So I think they'll be firing. And one of the newer teams too, Essendon. I think Essendon will be very competitive.
Crows finished first last year and went out in, was it straight sets or they just...
Yeah, I think so. So they won against Sydney. So that was a final. So they lost in the prelim. Yeah, against the Kangas. So I think, and Melbourne finished second and didn't end up making it either. So I think it's going to be a much more even comp this year. And obviously Daisy's gone over to West Coast, so beware of them. They finished second last year, and I think they'll be competitive.
Mick, do you have much to do with North, the AFLW at the moment?
No, not directly, but I know I'm doing a course with Jazzy and Bellaretti.
Yep.
And in terms of getting a bit of a behind the scenes, like insight into their mentality and a little bit of their upbringing in through footy, but now into where the AFLW space. Kate just summed it up all brilliantly in terms of their thirst for more eyes on the product and more critique of the product and higher standards of the product. I know the North girls have actually gone to training in the mornings. So across their pre-season, they were training in the mornings. So that the discussion within their group was how will this impact people with work and their study and whatnot. And it came to a consensus that not sure how many other clubs might have done it. I think most have stayed with their night slots, allow work and study, but North actually went to let's train during the day on 2 or 3 days a week. Huge.
Yeah, so I think last year was the first time that we'd seen clubs start to do day training. I think most went with maybe 1 or 2 sessions. Now, I would know sort of probably more than half of the teams are purely day training. So the girls are basically in at the club nearly full time. Obviously, the hours are less than what the boys are there, which is equitable for what they're being paid to do it. But 80 to 90%, I reckon, of the list is almost full-time footy because the young girls are probably at uni. So they have that luxury of being able to sort of do things a little bit more away from the club, but dedicate the time during the day to be at the club. So I know Richmond are completely sort of daytime training, and the girls didn't actually even have to do a Saturday morning session in their pre-season this year. They were able to do everything Monday to Friday, which is great for them. Hawthorn were all daytime. The Bulldogs have done 2 days and an evening. So that sort of thing is going to make a big difference as well. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Really pumped to see what the changes are this year, and I'm sure there's going to be a huge level of improvement like there has been on every year, but it's going to be an awesome spectacle, and I really do want to be more involved this year. We've got to keep our eyes across it, especially the North girls. We're all in. We're all on the Kangaroos this year.
Dodged a bullet. Libby Birch went down with a knee at training, but but it ended up being a 4 to 6 rather than a...
Yeah.
We had a couple of knee injuries last week.
Yeah, so the scratch match I played sort of close attention to after sort of coaching at the Bulldogs last year. Watched that one, Bulldogs and Richmond, and 2 of the players from that, one from each team. So Montana McKinnon, who'd come across from Adelaide to play for Richmond, she went down with an ACL, and then Mua Lalawifi, who'd come across from Carlton to play for the Bulldogs. She's ended up with an ACL as well, which is just devastating. Let's hope that's not the sort of what happens this year, because that always seems such an awful trend that happens across the women's footy.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Touch wood. Did you give us a tip for grand final?
Grand final? Oh, I'm not going to go rematch. That's a bit boring, isn't it? You can't go north.
I'm going north just because
Kangas.
that's where we're
is Croc down there.
Yeah.
Darren Croc is the longest employed person at North Melbourne Football Club.
Wow.
You think about it. Played, and then was a coach with the men's program for a long time. He's been there for a long time.
He's the fabric of the joint.
That is a long time.
It is.
Hasn't seen a whole lot of success, has he?
Oh, he was a premiership player.
He was, yeah.
Maybe
Since
Croc's
then.
the problem with the...
Ever since he
There's a
finished
common denominator.
I'm going to go... I like Sydney. I like their story. They've gone winless to finals to grand final against North this year.
I'm going to go... Well, you guys have gone north, so I can't do that. I'm going to go Brisbane and Geelong. I think Geelong are on the up. They just lost the prelim to Brisbane last year, and their system is very, very good.
Kate's done a U. We've asked her for who's
normally
improving
when you
this
say
year.
one, you can't. Two teams can't win the grand final.
No,
it just doesn't work.
But
like
she
that.
didn't mention Geelong at all about.
They finished like fourth last year, though, so I didn't think. I didn't think improvement. I thought that was a bit,
Friel, come on.
Yeah, they're all big.
Hey, when we got as many friends as us, it's hard to
you
upset
toe the line.
You got to toe the line.
My top 8 is the following in order: 1 to 18.
Kate, you have been an absolute star today. No joke. You need to come back in.
I will be back in.
Nah,
let the people decide.
Dumb it down for us a bit. There's a bit too much common sense. Brett would be in his element now that we've actually got someone on the show. Well, I can't really. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the problem.
Well, what about?
We'll see how the episode
content?
goes when you're in Bali.
No, we were.
Yeah.
This was good. Brett, we know Max Sports mentions all week until now.
You know what? It was the first week where Hugh Bond actually played a very good game as well.
He actually did.
Brett's boy. He played on Cody Waitman and actually did a really good job. And Brett wasn't here to talk about it for half an hour.
He had no impact on the game because Bond just took him out.
There you go.
It's not good for you boys.
Oh, he's going to be fired up.
All right. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen, for viewing or listening to the podcast. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe, send it to a friend, send it to your mum or your dad. And if you are watching it on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a comment, tell us what you love about the show, whatever you want to do. I'm just trying to find the fucking run sheet here just to finish us off. And I will say this towards the end. Remember to get your drinks sorted and enjoy the footy with BWS. Thank you. Thanks for listening to another Clubby Sports podcast. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Dyl Friends, on TikTok at Dyl Friends. And if you want to send something in for the show or chat to us on the minis, any bit of feedback, please email me at mailbag@dylfriends.com. We'll chat to you soon, LXX. Thank you so much.